On tomorrow, January 3rd, Congress will reconvene to vote for a House Speaker. The question is, will Mike Johnson be reelected? With Republicans in the majority, it should be easy enough to make that happen, right? Well, let's just say that the one thing the Republicans do worse than govern is teamwork. Take a look at this clip.
President-elect Trump's Day One plans for America might be in jeopardy if a House speakership battle delays his certification. Current House Speaker Mike Johnson faces a tough road ahead. House Democrats say they're united against him, and at least one GOP congressman has said he will not vote for Johnson.
If they think they're somehow going to get a more conservative speaker, they're kidding themselves. We can't get anything done unless we have a speaker.
And there will be no Democrats available to save him or the extreme MAGA Republicans from themselves.
I'll vote for somebody else.
I'm going to keep my options open. We just got to make sure that we get the best person for the job.
I'm losing confidence with each day. Johnson has to do his best to start finally showing that he's going to do what he says and not just continue to try and make deals with Hakeem Jeffries.
All this is going to do is delay us. It's going to delay the certification of President Trump's election. It's going to delay the start of his first 100 days in office, which is the most important.
Fox News correspondent Matt Finn is live in West Palm Beach, Florida tonight with the latest. Hi, Matt.
Hi, Sarah. This Friday, January 3rd, when the Republican-controlled Congress reconvenes, it has the constitutional obligation to select its next Speaker of the House. The current Speaker, Republican Mike Johnson, needs a majority 218 yes votes. As Chad Pergram always says, it's about the math. However, Indiana Republican Congresswoman Victoria Spartz says she's not sure who she'll vote for. Kentucky Congressman Thomas Massie says he will not vote for Johnson, and there's speculation PA Representative Scott Perry could challenge Johnson. Now, you may recall back in 2023, the House took several days to vote on a new speaker. In what's considered a worst-case scenario, if the House does not have a speaker on January 6th, it would not be able to certify November's election that Donald Trump overwhelmingly won.
Wait, overwhelmingly? Oh, that's right. It's Fox, of course. They actually got confused by presenting us with some actual facts. Anyway, if you remember, they alluded to the fight after McCarthy got ousted to replace him, and Johnson got voted in, I think just because everybody was really tired and wanted to go home. That was back in October 2023. Since then, his tenure has been marked by internal conflict and policy disputes. Here's a little bit of background. Johnson's leadership was tested just like a couple of weeks ago, just before the holidays, when a government shutdown loomed because the bipartisan spending bill that was ready to go to be signed was completely upended by the intervention of President not President Musk. What is his name? President-elect Donald Trump and Elon Musk. Both of them opposed the spending bill because they believed it allowed continued government spending, which is alarming because it suggests that they don't understand how the economics of our government work, particularly on foreign aid and non-defense spending. That is according to The Hill. In a True Social post, Donald blasted House Republicans, saying, "Republicans need to get smart and tough. This chaos would not be happening if we had a real president." Well, considering President Biden had absolutely nothing to do with the inner workings of the House of Representatives, which is, run by Republicans, I'm not entirely sure that's an accurate way of summing up what happened. And let's be real, the only reason there was chaos is because Donald created it. Still, not 100% sure if he was talking about Biden or Musk, though. So Musk also weighed in, quote, "The world's richest man led a charge to kill a bipartisan bill," which is probably a sign of things to come. Despite the fact that Donald and Musk interfered with the spending bill, the continuing resolution, after being pared down a bit, was able to pass. And whether or not it was good enough for Donald and Musk, at least they didn't fund cancer research for children. Before I go into more details about what's going to be happening tomorrow, just please take a moment to like and share this video. hit the subscribe button and then hit the notification bell so you'll get updated every time we drop a video. Also, if you're listening to the podcast, please give us a 5-star rating. It really helps people find us. Okay, so the point right now is that Mike Johnson's speakership, if it's challenged or if it fails tomorrow, this could be yet another indication that Donald's influence over the Republican Party is continuing to weaken, as it would be another clear sign that his endorsement of Johnson is not enough to keep the Republican coalition together. That wouldn't bode well for Donald's ability to gain support for key policy decisions when he's actually in the Oval Office. But of course, before we get there, there's also the small matter of his election needing to get certified in the first place on January 6th. As CNN host Jake Tapper put it, quote, Mike Johnson promised unity, but his compromises have left both moderates and hardliners disillusioned, unquote. So here's the key criticisms of Johnson. The far-right faction argues that Johnson's bipartisan deals betray MAGA-aligned priorities, particularly his decisions on Ukraine, aid to Ukraine, and federal spending. Quote, his leadership is weak and his policies are indistinguishable from the Democrats, said Representative Thomas Massey, who to date is the one person firmly coming out against Johnson. Of course, what Massey had to say is completely absurd, but let's look at some other criticisms.
Speaker Johnson, it's interesting to me that Republicans were elected to break things. There's a caucus full of people who don't believe in governing. I mean, literally, that entire Republican caucus is full of folks who want to break things, and Democrats like to govern. Democrats have a choice to make about whether or not they are going to help Mike Johnson. Because listen, if Mike Johnson is able to get reelected to the speakership, he's going to need Democratic support for some of the things that he needs to do. He's got too many folks in that Republican caucus who don't believe in governing and who typically like to be contrarian. So Democrats have a real choice point about whether or not they are going to participate in government. I think there are some on the Democratic side who want Democrats to maybe play a little bit more hardball politics. But I think there are others who feel like there are things that we can get done with Donald Trump as president and Mike Johnson as speaker.
I'm sorry, that is a completely wrong-headed analysis of the problem. And thankfully, Hakeem Jeffries has already come out to say that Johnson will get no Democratic support. He has betrayed the Democratic coalition repeatedly, and he just did 2 weeks ago. So Democrats have absolutely no incentive to work with a man who breaks his word at every opportunity. The dissatisfaction with Johnson on the right, of course, is best exemplified by the aforementioned Thomas Massey and also Chip Roy, among others, who have emerged as vocal critics of Johnson's leadership. No votes from them alone, just from Massey and Roy, would be enough to torpedo Johnson's reelection bid. As Massey told the Wall Street Journal this week, quote, Johnson's refusal to stand firm on conservative values is a betrayal to the voters who put us here. As I said before, Massey is a decided no vote against Johnson, accusing him of failing to prioritize fiscal discipline. And I think just to put a finer point on it, Massey said, quote, if they have thought I have no F's to give before, I definitely have no F's to give now, unquote. Doesn't sound like there's a lot of leeway there. So again, because the margins are so small, there are 219 Republicans and 215 Democrats. It literally only takes 2 Republicans voting against Massey, and there are quite a few who thus far are not impressed.
President-elect Donald Trump may have unequivocally endorsed Congressman Mike Johnson to keep his speakership, but some Republicans are still not done trying to oust him. Kentucky Senator Rand Paul, for instance, tweeted yesterday, as Congress debates re-electing the accidental Speaker Mike Johnson, conservatives across the country should remember that Speaker Mike cast the deciding vote to allow a secret court, FISA, to search American records without a warrant and to send $60 billion to Ukraine. Pathetic. Kentucky Congressman Thomas Massey has long fought Johnson's role as Speaker. Here's a recent tweet from him. For months, Democrats ignored the fact that Joe Biden was a potato. They convinced themselves that keeping him around was the pragmatic way to win the day. Too late did they admit the emperor had no clothes. Republicans are doing the same thing by keeping Speaker Mike Johnson.
Okay. Anyway, even with Donald's backing, the divides within the GOP seem only to be widening as criticism from figures like Massey and Roy fuels the uncertainty surrounding tomorrow's vote. Donald actually let Johnson twist in the wind for a while until finally posting a long-winded rant that ended with an endorsement of Johnson. He wrote, quote, "We are the party of common sense." Sorry, I can't say that with a straight face. "That's the primary reason that we won. Speaker Mike Johnson is a good, hardworking, religious man. He will do the right thing and will continue to win. Mike has my complete and total endorsement. MAGA," unquote. All right. Well, the problem, though, is that Donald loyalists, including Massey and others, remain staunchly opposed, which, again, hopefully highlights Donald's diminishing influence over wide swaths of the GOP. As the vote approaches, Johnson's future, as well as the future of Donald's influence over his own party, remains uncertain. So look, if Johnson secures the vote, he'll continue to be speaker, but with diminished credibility given how much uncertainty there is heading into tomorrow's vote. If he loses, the GOP faces yet another chaotic search for a leader, which will delay their ability to legislate, such as it is, and potentially delay the certification of electoral votes on January 6th. There's a lot at stake here, and actually, things could go even more sideways. In addition to sidelining Donald, the GOP's internal struggles also reflect a broader identity crisis as the party navigates Donald's simultaneously outside influence and waning ability to keep the coalition together. Congress also has to have a speaker in order to conduct its business. This, as just mentioned, includes certifying the results of the election. Otherwise, what do we do? Say hello to President Chuck Grassley? That's a possibility. A fractured GOP will hinder Donald's ability to pass legislation or gain party backing for his policy agenda, which could also affect his strategy going forward to get more Republicans elected. I mean, that sounds good to me. So I'm all for it. And I'm thrilled, actually, that Hakeem Jeffries has said that the Democrats are not entering into this fray. The New Republic notes the following, quote, "This vote is more than a referendum on Mike Johnson. It's a test of whether the Republican Party can govern in the age of Trump." I'll just end this here. The Republican Party can't govern ever. And making matters much worse for them, their president has no interest in governing at all.